We have another Reddit post here from CPTSD. I hate religion and want nothing to do with God. I was raised up really religious. I was supposed to be a devout Muslim, but after going through religious psychosis and some horrible things I had to see in my country in the name of religion, I want nothing to do with it. I want to ask God, where was he when I was being beaten, molested, getting kicked out of the house at the age of 9? Where was he when I would pray to him in the middle of the punches being hurled at me? Where was he when I was sexually violated multiple times as a child? Did he help me then? Did he bring me my justice? Why, after putting me through so much and not leaving me any help, is God so silent? Was God just watching all along? Sometimes I think about the possibility that maybe there is no higher being. I don't fast in Ramadan like my family does. I hate this month. I mourn the loss of my innocence in a weird way. There was this one quote that really resembles my situation. I need a father. I need a mother. I need some older, wiser being to cry to. I talk to God, but the sky is empty. Edit. I am not looking for you Islam preachers to bring me back to the right path. I don't believe in a lot of religious elements because scientifically they make no sense to me. This was just my story on how I struggle with God, but I am living a much happier life without Islam. Stop DMing me. So yeah, I don't have personal experience with Islam, but from the stories I've seen, it's just a harsher version of Christianity. Just less of the fluff, less of the comforting lies, more abuse, more straightforward. More brutal. And we have some comments. I feel you so much on this one. I was brought up Catholic, although I never followed the religion to the T. I still believed in God. I still prayed. But then I started wondering why and where. Why did all these horrible things happen to me growing up, and why did he not do anything to help out a fucking child when I was getting physically and emotionally abused? Why did others have loving parents and family, whereas I had absolutely no one? Where was he when I was crying, wailing, and wishing to die? Where was he all throughout my horrible life? Why did he give me such a horrible life? It's so damn hard to believe when you see all around you people so fortunate, and then you look at yourself and all the hell you've been through. I hate God with every fiber of my being. And there were some responses that were removed by moderator. I can only guess. I used to pray for God to save me while I was getting bashed half to death. No one ever came, 13 years of it, and I wasted my energy thinking someone would save me. I was a devout Catholic. After being abused for my entire childhood by my religious parents, praying desperately to God to help me, I realized at 17 he either doesn't care or doesn't exist. A God that doesn't care about his creation is not a God that I want to worship. I've been away from religion for 10 years now, and the longer I'm away, the more it feels like complete hogwash that's just a tool to control people. I'm actually an atheist now, and it feels much more comforting to know everything that happens is random, and there's not some crazy deity orchestrating all this horrible stuff. I also feel like I have more control over my life, and I'm not just randomly cursed for some reason. Yeah. And you know, they say random, and they say I'm not just randomly cursed for some reason, and like, in a way we all are. Like, it's the weird kind of thing that humans are still figuring out, where our existence is both arbitrary but consistent, and because of the consistency of our physical rules, it almost seems predetermined. It's really hard to say. And so it's like, do things happen randomly? Well, no, they happen for reasons. Cause and effect makes things happen. But like, it's complicated. My mother and father are devout Muslims. They were the first reason I could never buy into Islam. My aunt once told me that she felt God's presence in her life, but her kids never did. I find the idea of that insane, really. Feeling God's presence. Has he been watching along with a bucket of popcorn? I know that, if he exists, God is not great. He isn't good. He has no compassion, no conscience. I'm happier to believe that he isn't real. My prayers were never selfish, and they went completely unanswered. If I had mattered to him at all, he'd have answered just one. He didn't. Ramadan is a tough time of year. Ramadan during a genocide and forced famine in a certain unmentionable area of the world is pretty hellish. It's a strange world where a religion that has been the root cause of all of my trauma is also the only tool of hope and solace of a thoroughly marginalized and globally dehumanized population as they're brutally killed by the thousands. I wish I could have ever found faith comforting. I think I've really needed that. I'm a better person having denounced Islam, but something supportive to believe in would be nice. Something kind and tangible and helpful. But yeah, any kind of organized religion's God has been written by the victors in the same way history has. None of that is worth shit. And I think I'll leave off with this comment. I was raised mostly without religion, though I was dragged through multiple different forms of spiritualism and random half measures. My mother forced me to memorize the Lord's Prayer at one point and encouraged me to say it before bed. She was having some kind of nostalgia for what she learned as a kid, so she inflicted that on me. My mother was kind of on a permanent spiritual quest. When I was very little, it was Unitarian Universalist. I just remember being bored and numb and being fascinated by the size of the congregation leader's eyebrows. Later, she did crystals, herbs, Reiki, Buddhism, Methodism, and many more I can't even remember anymore. This pretty much poisoned me in religion and spiritualism. She was always seeking answers and a feeling of wholeness, but this was also something she'd never let herself actually discover. She'd always start suddenly and leave suddenly. She saw me as an extension of herself, so I went through a lot of these things involuntarily. I questioned the validity of the concept of God as far back as I can remember. Since I was a teenager, I've identified as an atheist, but it's more of a political stance than anything. A more accurate description would be anti-theism, but most people don't know what that is, so I leave it at that. I don't like religion. I find it unpleasant, and I resent any time I'm exposed to it in any way. That said, as I've gotten older, I've also tried to be more understanding of others. I don't want their religion touching me, but if it makes them happy and doesn't have too detrimental an impact on society, which it unfortunately so often does, then I try to leave it alone. The one thing I will say is that everyone should find their own meaning and their own answers for themselves. I feel like that is a basic human right, which again gets me down on religion for denying little kids the freedom to form their own minds without having artificial beliefs assigned to them. Personally, I find no meaning in the universe, but I take great comfort in that. There are no right answers, but there are also no wrong ones. There is no meaning, so it makes sense to appreciate the little pools of meaning that resonate with you. Just because there is no ultimate meaning doesn't mean you can't appreciate meaning where you find it appealing or created for yourself. I say follow yourself and respect yourself and believe whatever feels right to you to believe, whether that's something or nothing. Thank you for watching. If you have anything you would like me to read, please send it in. And feel free to share wherever you people